I love it when when you first meet somebody and well, what do you do? And you say, oh, I work at the Greater Vancouver Food Bank, and you can see in their eyes automatically, and the words are perfect. Oh, thank you for your work, and they think you work in the church basement and hand out boxes of craft dinner, and then people actually come here and they go like, oh my God, you look like Costco, and I said, pretty much, it's pretty similar to Costco.
So how did you shift what the food bank was when you started to what we're seeing today?
Well, I actually volunteered about a year before I started. I was working with another company, and we had a day to give back in the community. And I actually, with the CEO of that company, we spent a day volunteering at the food bank on the old location. And to be honest, I was kind of horrified. I think the old traditional model of a food bank is, people clean out their kitchen cupboards, let's be honest. And,
right, what's back here that we haven't eaten for months and months sometimes?
Exactly, and your kids come home and it's 8 o'clock at night and, oh, there's a food drive tomorrow at school and, oh, damn, I don't have time. And so people clean out their kitchen cupboards with great intention. But that, for me, was sort of a stark reality of what a food bank was. And I thought once I became the CEO, I was like, we got to make a difference. We got to get away from that sort of low nutritional food and the instant noodles and the canned goods. And I think back then we were giving maybe 20% of what we gave out was fresh. And I know that the amount of food that is out there, there's such an abundance of food that we should focus on fresher, more, and more sustainable.
So how are you doing on that journey? It was 20% fresh. Where are you at now?
Well, we have a goal of 65 to 70% of what we give out is fresh. Last week I was thrilled we actually hit 84% of what we distributed was fresh.
84%
of what we gave out was fresh, perishable, wonderful, nutritious food. And I make my team laugh all the time, and I say the same thing all the time, and it'll probably be on my gravestone. There's no shortage of food, there's a distribution problem because there is such a surplus of food.
And so what do you mean by that? Because a lot of people think people are hungry because we don't have enough food. What's the distribution problem?
There is so much food. There's so much surplus food. There's so much overproduction of food, and people don't realize that there's policies in place. There's food that gets rejected. There's overproduction, and the distribution problem really comes about where we don't have the mechanics in place to distribute this around to get to people. We don't have the warehousing, particularly for fresh food. We don't have the refrigeration that's needed to be able to get this out to people in need. And that's part of the things that we're working on at the Greater Vancouver Food Bank. This is another example, just excess. We talk about excess food. It's not waste food, it's surplus food. It certainly isn't waste. This is literally what we're handing out to our agencies today. So you can see for yourself, this was all going to head to landfill.
All of this was going to end up in a landfill?
All of it. I mean, there's a huge tower of these peppers. Look at that. Would you take that home, Anita?
I definitely would. What's wrong with this?
You and I would probably pay $10, $8 to $10 in the grocery store. And here we have literally cases and cases of bell peppers.
These are all in perfect condition.
Yep, it's awesome.
So why are they here?
Because it's surplus. There's too much.
And you've got other examples too. What's the avocado story?
We got probably, I think it was about 5 tons of avocados.
5 tons?
5 tons. Over 10,000 pounds of avocados in the green net. They were rejected because the policy of the organization that was going to sell them was that they were half a centimeter too small. And so this is one of the exciting things that happens in the food bank, and we like to have a lot of fun when we get something like, oh my God, what are you going to do with 5 tons of avocados? Well, we're going to be giving out these green nets of avocados to all of our clients and our agencies. And then I phoned somebody like a Nature's Path who, amazing donors, very, very generous. And I'm like, I need tortilla chips because we're going to be making guacamole.
A lot of guacamole.
We're going to have some fun with this, and we're going to give people some. I mean, who doesn't want to eat fresh avocados?
Right.
But it's those kind of policies that we need to look at, or the overproduction that we need to look at, and we need to be able to have a network where we can move food around the province. There should not be a hungry kid in school.
You've certainly taken an interesting path to get here. You're a classically trained chef. You've worked internationally. Here in Vancouver, you were executive chef at a private club. What made you eventually decide to come to a food bank?
Well, it is. I mean, food's always been passion. I mean, I think food is, it's kind of corny to look at it and say like food is power or food is central, but it really is. It was my first career being a chef. People love to eat all over the world. It's been a lot of fun. The private club industry, and especially the city clubs, are based on food. society's based on food. People sitting down eating dinner at a table. We know what happens to society now if we look at it from a larger or a higher level. Families that don't sit and have dinner together, and it's all instant food, or they're on the run and they don't take time to have that connection. Being a chef, I think people don't appreciate the financial side of things, where you look at food costs and you look at labor costs and you look at increasing sales and different things like that. And I know a lot of people in the food industry, and I thought, when I got a call about, becoming part of the food bank or working with the food bank in this position, I knew I could make a difference.
Do you ever see any clients that might surprise you?
Oh, absolutely. We have, I think across Canada right now, it's 1 in 5 people using a food bank have full-time employment. So if you think 20% of people using food banks in Canada have a full-time job, and especially in Vancouver and Toronto, they just cannot afford the expenses of what it is for putting a roof over your head and having a vehicle or something to get to work, or different expenses that they have. So we've had retired teachers come to the food bank. We've had retired nurses come to the food bank. People that would never ever think that they would need to come and use a food bank, and that's the sad side of it. But that's why we're here. And if you need help, you need food, and literally everybody needs help at some point.
How much of this do you take home? Are you able to leave it in the warehouse?
I have to ask my wife. Probably take. I always think about it. But I love what I do. I love the difference we make in people's lives. I love the stories that we have. I mean, there's good days, there's bad days. You see some real hardship. But when we made the deliberate move to not handing out tins of bent cans of beans or craft dinner or whatever it was, because people having a tough time can afford instant noodles and they can afford the dollar store food. When we did that, I didn't think for a second some of the sort of knock-on effect from those things. And you hear from an elderly lady who's getting through cancer, and she's like, I haven't had fresh vegetables in 6 months, and the smile on her face is like, I got the best job in the world. Are you joking me? This is great. So this is one of 3 coolers that we have.
What do you keep in here?
Well, in here right now we got a lot of potatoes that we have. This is freshly squeezed apple juice. So these apples were heading to landfill. We actually had so much we turned it into fresh apple juice.
David, you have built a very successful food bank here, which the opposite end of the scale. It's ironic because you actually don't want to be here. You might be the only CEO in Canada who wants to put himself out of business.
Totally.
Yeah. So then where do you see this going? In 5 years down the road, what will the situation look like, do you think?
We just took another warehouse in Vancouver on Lougheed Highway. And what we've done with that model, it has the same setup with warehousing, refrigeration, but the offices upstairs there, what we've done is we've specifically set aside 2 offices, and we're partnering with other social services because we have 15 to 16,000 people a week coming to see us. So we've now partnered with Immigration Social Services BC, we've partnered with Work BC, and we're giving them this office space for free so that they can talk to our clients about how do I get into the workforce, what government programs are there out there for me to get into the workforce. And so my goal with doing that is to have these other social services work together with my clients to hopefully reduce my numbers. And I think that's actually part of a solution, hopefully, to get people out of that sort of treadmill of poverty that they find themselves in. The Greater Vancouver Food Bank started 40 years ago or 41 years ago as a temporary measure, and it's now grown into this massive operation. And I think as long as we're here, let's do it as best as we possibly can. Let's treat it like a business. Certainly the donors that I talk to, they appreciate the way we run this food bank. They like what they see. They can see the end result. They can see the impact we're trying to have, and especially in children's lives, when we're giving them proper nutrition and proper food to get them the proper development, to get their first start in life. But we got to think outside the box.
So interesting, incredible to see what you've built here. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're very welcome.
Good to
Thank
talk
you.
to you.